Take off your clothes. It's going to be okay.
In this film, we see Nina going to work for Luther, a suspicious old man who lives separately in an old-fashioned way. He has secrets in his basements. What are the secrets of his basement? What will happen to Nina? What are the customs of the people in that area? Keep watching to know these answers. In the beginning scene, Mary, an agent, takes two immigrants, Nina and her younger daughter Isabel, somewhere. Nina came to America from Belarus due to a case against her, so she couldn't work or live there. Mary found a job for her as a maid for an old man named Luther, so she was taking them to that man. Nina was scared because she was in a foreign country and had to work in a strange man's house, but she greatly trusted Mary. Mary also helped Nina a lot. Meanwhile, Isabel had to go to the bathroom. Mary stopped the car and saw an injured man. He was asking for help in his language, but Mary assured her not to trust strangers. After an hour, they reached Nina Luther's house, which was big and old. He told her that all the girls who came before today did not have children, and that they could not stay here. Mary reassured him that Isabel won't create any trouble. After knowing Nina's condition, Luther gave her the job. He showed Nina around the house and her bedroom, which was clean and comfortable. There was a picture on the wall in front of her, and she asked if this was his grandfather. Luther replied that this was his great-grandfather, who was also a hunter and one of the first people who lived in this area. He has now inherited his legacy, and it is a tradition to celebrate a special day called Harvest, a delicious feast. Nina's English was not very good, so she guessed it might be a festival like Thanksgiving. Luther mentions his community, which was actually the people of this town. They lived far away from each other and had their own customs. After waking up in the morning, she found Isabel downstairs having breakfast with Luther. Nina also eats breakfast, then suddenly a noise comes from the basement. Luther tells her that if she didn't want to cut her leg, she should not go to the basement. He took the key and went to the basement. After breakfast, Luther showed Nina the area around the house and explained that he was not alone, and the people there were with him. He told her that he does his work here, like cutting meat and keeping it. So it is his rule that Nina should never go inside. In the basement, Luther cuts a piece of meat and brings it up to Nina to cook. Nina's not well, and Luther brings her his handmade tea, which he says is their family's secret recipe. The tea causes her to feel dizzy and sleep. The next day, she plays hide and seek with her daughter, and Luther gives her another tea. She feels dizzy and sleeps early. The next day, Nina sees a man with an iron rod approaching her house, and she gets scared and goes inside to warn him. Luther explains that people are dangerous, and that if she sees any stranger who wants to harm her, she should kill him immediately. Luther takes her to the forest to teach her how to use a gun, and there is a baby deer in front of her. Luther forces her to kill it, but Nina does not want to. He says that if she wants to live in this world, then she will have to learn to kill someone else. She will get killed himself. Luther makes a small dollhouse for Isabel, which makes Nina happy. They see the man again, named Andres, who tells them his car has broken down and he needs help. Luther hits him with a gun on his head, and when he is convinced that he really is not lying, Luther apologizes. He offered him to stay with them till his car is repaired. Andres from Colombia is going to Jamestown to start his business, but his car has broken down. Andres helps Nina wash dishes and finds out that Nina works as a maid there. They become friends quickly, and they drink wine together. When Nina wakes up, she sees a person wearing deerskin from the window, but he disappears. She searches for Isabella and sees 3 masked people in the distance. She finds Isabella with Luther. Later, Arthur tells them some guests are about to arrive. Nina wonders how guests were invited without a phone. Luther says he went to the neighbor's house while they were sleeping and used the car keys he found on the table to get the car fixed. Andres is puzzled because he knows he didn't leave his car keys on the table. Luther also tells them not to drink wine without his permission. He gives Nina a red dress to wear for the guests. He also says that in the future, she will ask permission from Luther before doing anything. When guests arrived, Luther asked Nina strange questions about her country. Andres felt suspicious and suggested Nina leave with him to Jamestown. After dinner, Luther took Andres to see his car but attacked him. When Andres doesn't come home, Nina starts to worry, so she goes out in search of him. She sees a man wearing a mask again. Luther tells Nina that Andres has left. After giving her tea, Nina is unconscious again. Nina is laid down at a place where Luther's people perform rituals on her. When she wakes up, She discovers blood on the floor and gets suspicious. When Luther is in the basement, she searches his room and finds a chest with pictures of Luther's ancestors who were seen in rituals, including killing. Before she could see his holy book named Order of the Children of the Sun, Luther came out of the basement. She decides to go inside the basement at night, but Luther is cunning and gets angry when she tries to go inside. The next day, when Luther is out for some work, Nina sends her daughter upstairs to hide, and she breaks the basement door with an axe. She finds Andres tied up in a chair with his eyes gouged out. He asks for help, and Nina takes him and her child to run away, where they are caught by Luther. She loses consciousness and is imprisoned for a few days. He gives her only water and tea made by him, which makes her weak. Luther tells her about his thoughts, that outsiders threaten their territory and could be hunted and eaten. Luther tells her that if she doesn't obey him, he will kill her daughter. Later, they have a feast called Harvest, where they eat human flesh. When Nina regains consciousness, she is tied to a chair and is brought to Cain's house for a party, including Mary, who is also a cannibal like them. They make immigrants like Nina their prey, and they do the same on normal days too. Luther reads from his strange book, which means that these people consider this place as heaven, and any stranger who comes is their kana. They do not believe in any god, and only the knowledge left by their ancestors was their religion. Nina sees the severed head of Andres, vomiting and making the clothes of the guests dirty. Everyone blames Luther for ruining their special day. Luther ties Nina to a chair in the basement. After a few hours, Nina frees herself with the help of her daughter. She then escapes with a knife and gun. Outside, Mary and Luther discuss Nina's daughter and how they cannot eat her, so they will raise her like themselves. One guest returns to take something, and Nina shoots him. Mary and Luther become alert after hearing Goli's voice. Nina wants to run away and tries to get a car, but she finds Mary and kills her when she tries to attack. She goes into the forest to find the keys. Then Luther comes to attack her.
I'll shoot!
Why can't you understand that all of this is for the...
But the jinxed one escapes. He locks Nina in a box and goes home to find her daughter. Nina gets herself out and starts fighting with Luther after going to the house. There, she killed him with the horn that he wore on his head. The next day, she leaves the house with her daughter, and the film ends there.